beloved Ascension Pioneers, and welcome to another update with me. In this episode, I really want to talk more about how do we really create. So we have become more aware of the fact that the path of the self-mastery is the path of I Am, where we are a free sovereign being of divine light, and that our God, Goddess, is the presence within us, and that each of us will experience and express it uniquely. So on this next chapter, what takes place is once we realize, okay, I embrace the path of self-mastery, and I don't really see it as a linear conditioned thing, because when we do so, we say, okay, today I feel like a master because I feel like I really am in this power, and next day we feel, this is not a choice I'm making through my self-mastery, so I'm not, this is condition. Once you make the first choice in this step to really embody this power of your master self, it's an infinite experience, it's ongoing, and it's experiential in the now moment. These other things are assessment of your judgment, of your inner judge. So the first step in making these changes into how we create are about really becoming unified, and I've spoken about this in the previous video. What does the unification of the soul really mean? Some people call this soul integration, and I don't really call it integration, and I don't really see it the same process, because integration is when you integrate all these different particles within you, and then the next step is soul unification. So I would kind of see soul unification as a continuation and an upgrade of the soul integration that a lot of us have been going through in the past times in our ascension journey. So how to make our creations and choices in the new through our self-mastery will be the focal point of this video. Okay, so what I experience is a lot of people oftentimes telling me, I really don't like my job, I really don't like my current situation, I don't like these conditions that I'm in, I really don't like to be ordered, I don't like to receive orders from others in my job, or I don't like this, these are my desires, but then they don't really know what to do to step in a new alignment. The first thing that's really important is to stop really thinking that the situations will either magically change on the outside, and the other is to try to push against the flow. The first thing is to align ourselves with the flow of our I Am, the flow of our self-mastery. It's simple, it's not really something complex. We give ourselves the decree that we are aligned with the self, that we desire this new, which means that in the next path, when the next conscious step will be that we really start to make choices. We start to make action according to this agreement that we actually start to invoke within ourselves. So what I experience is a lot of people express these desires, and yet they don't know how to consciously make them a living thing, a living creation. So this will be, again, the focus. When we have a desire that is more based on wishful thinking, and a lot of times we want it to be a certain way, and because we don't yet fully align with what feels as our new, as the next step, a lot of times first we need to clear the pathway of all that is really more of a wishful thinking than our actual soul desire. This again is a natural part of the soul unification. So there's different parts and fragments of you coming into unison, and as well as you're undergoing this process, a lot of times you will feel like your choices either are in contradiction to yourselves. Let's say you're being drawn to one path while at the same time you want something else, and it kind of brings you confusion. And recently somebody said to me, we had a conversation, and they said to me, I'm just thinking. And I said, what are you thinking about? And they said, I'm thinking about all the things that actually are in between us, kind of like in the way. And I said, well, what is that really? What is in the way? Is that really true? Because what we perceive as obstacles or limitations and things that are governed from the outside, in truth, are illusions. Once we step to the alignment of our I Am, of our cosmic mastery, we know that we are the ones who are going to create. The first part is awakening to this reality. The second part is embracing this, unifying in our soul, and then the next part is just living it. It's just living it each day without constant judgment. Okay, today I don't feel in my mastery, tomorrow I feel again, yes, no, this constant conflict. Once you're in alignment, you feel that all of your choices will reflect that. Either they sometimes consciously make sense or not. Again, only the lower mind wants to make conscious sense of it, but the true consciousness is something else. So once we're unified, we come into this awareness body. The awareness body is your overall self, which in this new age, we no longer think of things like, okay, I feel this in my emotional body, then I go into my mental body, and then, think of these different layers of the self. This is all a part of soul integration. A soul unification means that all these parts are already whole within you, and you make conscious choices choices and then create from that unified space. So when you say, for example, I don't like to receive orders in my job, you're already probably aware that you are your own master, that you won't like to have your path influenced by something else, especially if it no longer resonates with your soul. A first decision is making a decision that you will no longer tolerate that. Yes, it's how it is. Sometimes people say, well, but I'm embracing everything as it is, you know. The embracing everything what it is does not mean that you just always turn your other cheek around. You know, that was a misinterpretation of a general statement that once you don't like something, then turn the other cheek around. It means that you turn around to the other opportunity, that there's always infinite opportunities for our soul expansion. So what you do is you see what no longer resonates with you, and then you also clearly state what you're still willing to tolerate or not. Tolerance is not something that is judgment. It just means that something simply glues itself off of you because you no longer find a resonant space within it. You are a higher vibratory essence now. You are a free being, a sovereign, that on this path of self-mastery, you're going to start to make choices that really come from deep within you. Not everybody will make that choice, because obviously not everybody's choosing that path maybe at exact moment when you are. And especially maybe not in this lifetime even, you know, it's very unique when we really embrace this, and when we feel ready, when we start to remember who we are truly. So creating by our own sovereign self, this is a path that, you know, nobody has the answers for. And I was thinking about this yesterday, and I was really thinking about how when you read certain masters material or teachings from the wise sages, and even the new teachings that are coming through many people, you see that nobody will actually give you a very direct formula. And I was thinking about this, is there any writing or material that actually gives us a proper formula? And I was even thinking about myself giving others in my service a most direct, the most easy, you know, the easiest pathway towards that. And again, the answer is always no, because otherwise there wouldn't be no expansion. It wouldn't be that understanding that takes place within our own soul awareness, because nobody can actually have an understanding for us and gives us the formula and hands it out to us and say, look, you know that the great saying of Ascended Master Saint Germain, when he never actually says, you know, blessings in your path, I pray for you, blessings, but he says, may you pass every test. So may you pass every initiation. That means we're really past the learning experience in our ascension, because these things that we're learning through these lessons that have to be hard and restrictive, and this is all of the old. The ascending ones, we no longer desire this. We're becoming conscious creators, remember this. And there's a different state here. There's a different feeling experience, but a lot of the people first want to have the understanding so they feel safe enough to experience a new way, to make the first step towards their conscious decisions. And yet, you know, this doesn't go so, because the understanding will actually take place through the experience. So what you do is first you need to open that you can experience something else, and you align with that. Everything is about vibrational essence. Everything is about opening to essences that are already there. They're already part of the whole. And once you just say, I'm no longer willing to tolerate that, but then what do I desire? And you start aligning yourself with that space, with that sacred essence. And with that, you're starting to realize that nothing is so linear. You don't have to go, for example, when we talk about dimensions, you know, or even your pathway, it doesn't have to go, okay, I'm going to have to go through these lessons first, and maybe during those years I will dedicate myself to this, because I've noticed a lot of people saying, I will dedicate to a spiritual path maybe later in my life. And yet, again, this is separation, because it's all this way. When you're in self-mastery, all comes of that path, you know. It's not like something separate. It's just not like a life area that's like a tiny little box of its own. So it's not so limited, you know. You think of yourself in these terms and you say, okay, this is self-limitation. When you really invite yourself in this space, you know that you can always create from that essence when you align with it, yeah? So the process is very natural, and when you allow yourself to align with that which feels new to you, then you got to allow yourself the experience. You got to allow yourself maybe the experience that these lessons you once knew and understood, they no longer necessary, and just say that, invoke that, govern the energy, command the energy. Again, I've said in the previous video about the masters of the new era that the energy is neutral and it always carries divine potential, and we're the ones who are working with it. So again, this is the same thing. When you make the choices from your own self, you know that you can only command thyself, because self-mastery is a path of owning the self, of mastering the self, not others. So when you consider your mastery experience as, okay, I'm going to govern that person because I'm a master, that's really egoic. That's not really pure understanding of your self-mastery. If we don't like something and we're in non-resonance with it, it doesn't mean we will change that thing from the outside. What we will do is we will master a state of being, is how we respond to the world, how we respond to the reality by what we want to align with, and then change things from within, from the inside. So we're kind of like blossoming forth from the inside out. And what we're doing while we're expanding our own inner realms, we're also expanding the whole of creation. And this field of understanding of this new energy, which in fact, like I said, it's not new, but it is a new experience when we're actually opening up to it. And especially on this planet, there's this amazing thing happening that a lot of us don't even have a mental understanding of. We just feel. And there's even a lot of material or channelings or videos talking about this. And not everybody can put it in written word even. It is so intense. So when we understand that we are a part of it, we will know that we can only create and co-create from within. So if we don't like something, we no longer tolerate it, it's a sign. It means that we vibrationally are just no longer there. But then what do we do about it? We gotta have the courage, we gotta have faith, we gotta have that power that will drive us to making these new empowered choices. Because when we think it's just gonna change on the outside without even us coming into a unified conscious field, then it really won't. Because the magic that happens is propelled by our inner force of soul alchemy. It doesn't happen on the outside. Miracle is not something that just happens to you. You created it because you've entered a space of awareness that is completely expanded, and therefore miracles are just your natural state of being on this plane of existence, yeah? So when I talked before about the things don't have to be linear, it also applies to dimensions. You know, people say, okay, we're going to go third, fourth, fifth, sixth. It's also linear. It's not like that. Your consciousness, when you consider your awareness being one with all consciousness in creation, with all life in existence, then you know that you can tune into and plug into all these different realities. And different dimensions are just different states of consciousness. And again, when you choose what you wish to align with. Even if you wish to align with another species, another form of existence, in that moment you bring that energy essence into your being and you invite it in. So it's all how to create. It's about inviting these different essences we want to experience in the new, by inviting them in, by working with them, by working with the energy and its potential and divinity, and realizing that we are that divinity. Nothing's going to come, no command, no knowledge, nothing will come outside of us, but then our own I am. So the knowing of the I am and how to work with it so that we can make more conscious decisions and creations in the new. It's not a mental understanding to work with your I am. You know, when you meditate with the I am, each time you will meditate with the words I am, and then you expand them into I am that I am. And it comes as just this freedom of being in all life in creation. The more you meditate with it, it's not going to be a knowing that comes intellectually. It will be a profound consciousness experience that each time it might take you on a different journey. And the fractals of those journeys will bring you more and more answers in a way, more resolutions to what you're looking for when you're making new creations. And like I said, the first step in realizing when you say, I don't like this anymore, is to really be honest with yourself and then be powerful enough to be willing to make the new choices, because we don't have one or two or three, we have infinite amount of choices. But up until now, we had this veil over us, and first of all, we had so many of these patterns and programs that kind of prohibited us, you know, from really feeling into who we truly are. And a lot of times what I also see with people, what's happening is, when we are comfortable with where we are, a lot of times what we do is, when we're not yet in that full integrity of the soul, is we like to use these external things as excuses. We say, well, maybe I'm not fully ready, or another person told me I'm not ready, or a psychic reader told me I'm not ready for this or that, or that I'm only in knowledge of this and that. And we even sometimes we like that, because like, okay, keeps me safe and will come. And then we kind of keep that fatedness to it, that, okay, it's going to happen when it's destined. You know what Saint Germain says is that, you know, get rid of that belief, because when you're becoming masters of the self and conscious co-creators, you really are your own destiny makers, and really you take over your own wheel, and you're not going to abuse it or use it for anything negative, because when you're in a unified field and you know the white ascension flame and the ray of ascension and purity, it's about that unification of your I am. It's about the column of white light. It's about that which always keeps you in purity. Purity, it's not the same that you're striving for this perfection, that is this principle that you've created within yourself. You know, people who are very perfectionist, nothing ever works perfectly, and they're always striving for more perfection, more. This again is an illusion, because it's something we're always chasing. It's like a rabbit, no rabbit, well, maybe, but a dog chasing its own tail, you know, and creating these loop circles. And a state of perfection is always in the now. So what is this perfect in the now? And that is the true divine perfection, embracing that. When I talk about perfection, this is what I'm talking about. And when we don't like certain conditions, you know, we say, I don't like this. I don't like to be told what to do. The first thing is to accept it, to have pure compassion for why you made these choices in the past, what they've brought to you, and the fact that maybe do you still need this belief that you always need to learn lessons the hard way, that you need to experience this, that you need to serve others in this way that makes you feel like a servant instead of a cosmic servant, you know, and freedom and all life in creation, that you choose how to serve, and that's actually a blissful pleasure to you, like it is a pleasure for me when I do these videos. It's an utter feeling of expanded bliss, and that's all I can say. And it's not conditioned to where, how, and, you know, how they present the material. It's just that it shares itself, that goes out and expands in these tiny ripples, you know, that leave its cosmic impact. And the more we really come into our essence of the unified whole, then we just know that we are coming from this space of our ascended self, that when we really work with energy and give it orders, in sense of not demanding orders, but decrees that are divine in nature, because they will serve something higher, your higher visuals and ideals and beautiful divine orchestrations you have, you know, like a divine symphony you develop within your soul. It's that which will serve that. So it's not going to be something you will over abuse and you say, if I take here, then somebody else will not have, because it's not true, because it's infinite. You cannot take a space from somebody else, because sometimes I feel people are afraid to live their full divinity because they feel somebody else will be either offended or they won't understand them, so feel like they're taking something away from them. And it's not true. You can only choose for yourself. You can be free for yourself. Nobody will do it for you. Nobody can give you the gift of freedom. It is the I am that I am that gives you that. And you're the one who's making those choices. So how to create it in the new world? The first thing is to really consciously raise this field into unified wholeness, and then make conscious choices from there. Because as long as we make it from only these fractals, from these tiny particles, and they will still be in inner conflict, and that's why a lot of times we will feel torn between different paths, or, you know, maybe you even have different people you want to be with, or you're choosing between a person or a job, and you're in this conflicting energy. When you're in unified field, there is no opposites. There's no contradiction, it's just oneness. But up until the point where you feel it, or you feel a tendency to either no longer have it the old way and no longer tolerate it, but at the same time you still experience it, embrace that process through compassion. What is it bringing you? What is it bringing you in expansion of your new awareness? And then use that newfound awareness to make your part, to make your headway into the new, to really mark your path. And what do you want it to be, so that it serves the greatest potential within you, and therefore in all life and creation, because it's one. Okay, so when you're making those choices, really be clear with yourself that they are coming from the soul. A lot of times we have these illusions, we feel it's of the soul, but if we're being pulled in so many different directions, it's not of the soul, because our soul is in this unified space in truth. It always was. It's just these different experiences we've had on our journey, and we sometimes feel drawn to the past, or we either have this experience with someone that's more of a past or parallel rather said experience. It's not really what is in the now. Therefore, when we are in unified self, we will know what is the experience and what is really in the now, and we will feel it, and we'll make choices from that space. I know it's just a general overview, but again, if you read any of the master materials or anything like such, you will see nobody will give you a direct formula. They will share awareness about it, but then how you come to it in your own path, it's about you, because otherwise you wouldn't unlock these gateways. Nobody will do it for you, and this is how we expand. So take care, my beloved ones. I wish you so much pleasure in discovering your I am, to really merge and unify with it in all possible ways. As always, so much love, wisdom, and power. Take care. Bye-bye.